Things that don't usually happen in Hollywood. A healthy, long-lasting relationship. A 56-year-long marriage that is still happy with a couple that never argues. And a relationship that is so private it has people skeptical of whether her husband is even real. But Dolly Parton has always been rather unusual. And although not a lot of her life is a secret, her best-kept secret is her husband, Carl Dean. If you were wanting to see a pair that was hashtag couple goals before it was even a thing, Dolly and Carl's romance is the personification of it.
And I have been with my husband for 56 years. We dated for 2 years before we married, so we've been together most of our lives. And we're still happy. Can you believe that?
Their love story began nearly 60 years ago in 1964. It was 18-year-old Dolly's first day in Music City. The young, soon-to-be star had just moved across the country all on her own, and she was dying to get out of her grungy clothes and do some laundry. She headed down to the wishy-washy laundromat, and she was most likely folding her delicates when she caught 20-year-old Carl's eye. He was driving past in his white pickup truck and admits, "My first thought was I'm gonna marry that girl. My second thought was, Lord, she's good looking." And that was the day my life began. He hollered at Dolly to get her attention, and then he asked her out on a date. And she said no. But she did invite him over to come to her aunt's house because Parton often babysat her nephew. The following day, he came and sat with Dolly while she babysat. And he did the same thing the day after that and the day after that for an entire week. He came up every day that week and we sat out on the porch. I wouldn't even take him in the house. Then my aunt got a day off and she could keep the kid, and that was my first chance to go anywhere with Carl. And he drove me straight to his folks' house and introduced me to his mother and daddy, because he said he knew right the minute he saw me that that's the one he wanted. Their meet cute sounds straight out of a country song, doesn't it? It was less than 2 years later when Parton and Dean had a private ceremony. It was only them, the pastor, and Dolly's mom that attended because they decided to elope. But why? Parton's record label asked her to wait a year before getting married for the sake of her career, but she and Dean couldn't wait. They went to Georgia so that the event wouldn't be reported in the Tennessee press. My mother made me a little white dress, a little bouquet, and a little Bible. But I said, I can't get married in a courthouse because I'll never feel married. So we found a little Baptist church in town and went up to Pastor Don Duvall and said, "Would you marry us?" We got pictures on the steps right outside the church. And now they've been married for 56 years. But there are barely any photos of them together. They are rarely seen out in public, and Carl has only attended one of Dolly's red carpet events. That's right, he hasn't even attended award ceremonies over the years.
Well, we have been married 50 years, and people often ask me how we lasted that long. I say, I stay gone. And I'm gone now, and he's still at the house.
Their first year of marriage saw Dean's first and last red carpet event. Parton received her first songwriting award at 20 years old for Put It Off Until Tomorrow. She and Dean walked the red carpet and attended the dinner and award ceremony, but it wasn't Dean's scene. On the drive home, Carl turned to me and said, "Dolly, I want you to have everything you want and I'm happy for you. But don't you ever ask me to go to another one of them dang things again," she said about the incident. This couple has the perfect marriage that they've managed to keep safe from the Hollywood spotlight. And they would have made great parents, but it just wasn't in the cards for them. The country singer and her husband have no children of their own, but Dolly is the godmother of singer Miley Cyrus.
Dolly is the most loved person on the planet, right?
I think that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
They also helped raise several of Dolly's younger siblings in Nashville, with her nieces and nephews referring to her as Aunt Granny, which became the name of one of the singer's Dollywood restaurants. When Dolly was 21, she wanted 6 kids if she could afford it, and if Carl and her were healthy and had the energy to take care of them. The pair even discussed baby names and what their kids would be like. You always wonder, when we first got married, we thought about if we had kids, what would they look like? Would they be tall, because he's tall? Or would they be little squats like me? If we'd had a girl, she was gonna be called Carla. Anyway, we talked about it, and we dreamed about it, but it wasn't meant to be, she said. But why was it not meant to be? There is a whole list of reasons that Dolly has opened up about, and one of them was that children would have changed the trajectory of her career. She loves that having no kids meant she was independent and had the freedom to achieve her dreams as a country star. She also believes that a big part of her success was that she was free to work. Parton said she believes she would have been a great mother, but she would have given everything up because she would have felt guilty about leaving on tour. Another huge reason Dolly and Carl never had children was that she suffered from endometriosis. It is a painful condition that can lead to infertility. By 1984, she underwent a partial hysterectomy to treat her symptoms. She admits that she went into a deep depression after the op, and she even contemplated taking her life. "It was an awful time for me," she said. This was one of the more serious and unchangeable reasons for not starting a family together. But now that the couple is older, they're glad they never had kids. Parton has said that her legacy is her music. She also realizes that she didn't have kids of her own, so everybody else's kids could be hers. She considers herself a mother to everyone, from her nieces and nephews that her 11 siblings had to her godchildren. She loves that she has the family she always dreamed of, just not the way she dreamed it. The country star has always had a calling to help children, and she even started her own non-profit organization, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. The organization provides free books to preschoolers. "I didn't have children because I believed that God didn't mean for me to have kids, so everybody's kids could be mine, so I could do things like Imagination Library. If I hadn't had the freedom to work, I wouldn't have done all the things I've done. I wouldn't be in a position to do all of the things I'm doing now." Dolly believes that kids relate to her because they think of her as Mother Goose or a fairy godmother.
He said, "You just have to be her godmother." I said, "I don't know if I'll be around to where I can actually do all the duties that a godmother does. Let me be her fairy godmother."
She's like a cartoon character, and she's an excitable little person like them. Carl is quite the opposite of his wife. He is quiet, reserved, and prefers to stay out of the spotlight. But his love for Dolly is the one extravagant thing about him. They say opposites attract, and it's true for this couple. But that's what feels fun for Parton after almost 6 decades of marriage. She never knows what he's going to do or say, so he is always surprising her. She speaks about how different they are, but how it works so perfectly, saying, "He wants to be mostly around the house. He knows I'm just the opposite. I can't go enough places and do enough things. He loves that. He's independent. He doesn't need me in his face, and it's the same with me. But when we're together, we have enough things in common that it works." But Carl is so private that many people have thought that he is a figment of the singer's imagination. She addressed the conspiracy theories and confirmed that her husband is indeed a real person and a retired businessman. She said being in the spotlight just isn't who he is. He always values his peace and quiet and figured if he ever went out into the spotlight, he wouldn't have a minute's peace. Well, he is right about that. I've always respected and appreciated that in him, and I've always tried to keep him out of the limelight as much as I can. He said, "I didn't choose this world, I chose you, and you chose that world. But we can keep our lives separate and together, and we do and we have. We've been together 58 years, married 56. How sweet is that?" Carl's love for privacy may just be the secret that keeps their romance strong. After 58 years together, Parton says she and Dean keep the spark alive by planning spontaneous but simple dates for one another. She will cook some food she knows he loves, pack it up in a picnic basket, find a riverbank somewhere, and they have a picnic.
I'm still one of those people that really can cook, like the old days, that soul food cooking, and that's the kind I like best.
Dean will always think of ways to make her feel special, and he keeps some tradition alive that he started decades ago. In the springtime, when the first yellow daffodils come out, he will always get her a bouquet, and he'll usually write her a little poem. To me, that's priceless. That's like a date in itself, she said. Dolly has had many big hits over the years, but one of her most famous is Jolene. You don't need to be into country music to know that song. Apparently, it was inspired by a bank teller who had a massive crush on her husband. He just loved going to the bank because she paid him so much attention. It was kind of like a running joke between us. When I was saying, "Hell, you're spending a lot of time at the bank. I don't believe we've got that kind of money." So it's really an innocent song all around, but sounds like a dreadful one. The couple renewed their vows for their 50th wedding anniversary in 2016, and Dolly got dressed up in what she called the most beautiful gown you've ever seen, and dressed that husband of mine up. They were surrounded by family and friends and had a simple ceremony at the chapel at their house. She always said if she had to do it all over again, she would, and they did. Dolly and Carl have a marriage that has withstood not only the test of time, but the test of Hollywood. She wrote a song about their love story called Pure and Simple, and their sweet relationship is exactly that. They are living out a country song and a romance novel all in one. They love each other deeply, and that's all they need to keep their marriage alive. Dolly also says the secret to a successful marriage is fried chicken, because you can't go wrong with it. I'm dragging him kicking and screaming into the next 50 years. Wish us luck. Well, good luck, Dolly and Carl. We adore this couple, and they teach us how it's the simple things in life that can keep you together. Let us know your thoughts on their 56-year-long marriage in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for scandalous and sweet Hollywood romances on Rumour Juice. Be well and be kind.